So, Borderlands 4 is right around the corner, and today we're going to be diving deep into everything that we personally need to know about the endgame. Now, Borderlands has always been about that grind. You know the deal. Chasing that one legendary, testing your build against ridiculous enemies, and seeing how far you can push your Vault Hunter. And with BL4, Gearbox is seriously doubling down. We've got Ultimate Vault Hunter mode, Firmware, Specializations, Invincible bosses, Pearlescence, the works. So, if you're wondering what you'll actually be doing after you beat the story, this is the video for you. Alright, let's kick things off with a big one, Ultimate Vault Hunter mode, or UVHM for short. This unlocks once you finish the main campaign, and it's basically Borderlands 4's version of the true endgame. Enemies scale to your level, their health pools go through the roof, and the resistances mean you just can't rely on the same elements or weapon types forever. You'll actually need to adapt your loadout if you want to survive. But the devs were clear. They don't want to just make it punishing. They said think of UVHM as the mountains you'll enjoy climbing. In other words, yeah, it's tough, but the climb itself is actually really fun. Every fight feels more meaningful because the reward scales up right alongside the difficulty. Unlike BL3's Mayhem mode, where you can just crank the dial and skip levels, BL4 makes you earn it. To move up a rank, you'll need to complete certain challenges across KAIROS. Once those are done, you unlock a wildcard mission. This is basically a remix of campaign missions, but the enemies inside are buffed with new traits and modifiers. These wildcards are kind of like trial runs. They push your build to the limit, and once you beat them, you unlock the next tier. This pacing makes sure that you do not rush to the top. It feels earned, and honestly, I like that. It means each step of the grind feels like progress, instead of just flipping a switch. Let's move on to something that's going to make a lot of veterans very happy. Farming bosses. Back in the older games, farming a boss meant saving, quitting, reloading, running all the way back, and finally restarting the fight. It was very tedious and really time consuming. Let's be real, most of us hated that. BL4 fixes that with Moxxi's big encore machine. This lets you pay a fee to instantly, and I mean instantly, reset a boss fight. No menus, no downtime, no running back through the whole map. You just hit this machine, pay the sum, and boom, you're back in the fight. Even better, bosses now have dedicated loot pools. That means if you want a specific legendary, you know exactly which boss to target. No more wondering if that gun that you're chasing even exists in the drop pool. This is a game changer for farming. So, between Encore and UVHM, the grind is more streamlined, but is still challenging. You're spending more time fighting, not menu hopping. Now, Borderlands 4 has aimed to add a new system to the game. Let's talk about Firmware. This is basically Borderlands' take on set bonuses. It adds a whole new layer of gear building, and honestly, it's the most exciting feature for me at least, especially for theory crafters in general. Firmware will only start to show up around level 25. It only rolls on non-weapon gear, meaning only rep kits, ordnance, class mods, shields, and enhancements. And you can only have 5 firmware equipped active at once. The bonuses come in 3 tiers. A minor bonus when you equipped one piece. These are usually like flat bonuses towards your ordnance damage or just stat increase, such as just damage in general. Major bonuses with 2 pieces. This kind of doubles down on those buffs, making them noticeably stronger. And then the full bonuses with all 3 pieces at the same set. This is where things get really cool. Unique effects like missile strikes, lifesteal when you're on low HP, or just damage over time effects. This is awesome because it involves strategy now into the game. The strategy comes from how you want to mix and match. Do you stack 3 pieces for one big bonus set, and then grab 2 smaller pieces for another major? Or do you spread across 5 different sets just to stack a bunch of smaller perks? Both options are viable, and it depends on your playstyle. After you beat the campaign, you unlock the Transfer Machine. This lets you merge firmware traits from one piece to another. The catch? The original piece gets destroyed, and whatever firmware was on the targeted gear is now overwritten. It's high risk and high reward, and it makes farming and UVHM levels super important, since that's where the best gear is going to drop. So, in short, firmware is Borderlands' way of letting you sculpt your build beyond just raw stats. It's all about synergy. Next up is another huge system called Specializations. Think of this as Borderlands 4's long-term progression track, similar to Guardian ranks in BL3 or Badass ranks in BL2, but way deeper. After the story, you unlock a brand new XP bar that you can level up basically forever. You'll start with 4 basic nodes that give you small stat boosts, stuff like max health, gun damage, or shield, but as you keep investing points, you unlock prestige nodes. These are bigger, more impactful buffs that often require you to invest in multiple basic nodes first. For example, the Gadgeteer prestige node. This one will boost ordnance damage, but you can't even access it until you've invested at least 10 points into each of the Survivor and Brute nodes. Once unlocked, these prestige nodes can be slotted in specialized sockets. giving you major power spikes over time. What I love about this is that it's not just raw stacking damage, it's strategic. You can push your Vault Hunter in totally different directions depending on how you spec your character. Want to be more tanky of a brawler? Focus on health and defense nodes. Want crazy damage output? Go heavy into the offense and unlock nodes that buff ordnance damage and crits. This system gives BL4's endgame that just one more level vibe, which is dangerous because I can already see myself sinking hundreds of hours into this game. Alrighty, so let's talk about one of the big things that the community has been begging for. Invincible bosses are now back. Now, these things won't be here at launch, but a few months after release, we'll start seeing them being added in. These bosses are ultimate tests, amped up enemies with brand new attack patterns, modifiers, and way more health. They're designed to push even the strongest builds to their limits. If you're not prepared, they'll stomp you. But if you're geared up, they're the ultimate flex fight. And of course, they drop some of the best loot in the game. Speaking of loot, we also got confirmation of pearlescent weapons returning. These are coming in a free update, not at launch, but they're as rare and as special as ever. The drop rate, less than 1%. So if you find one, it's a huge deal. These guns aren't just stat kicks. They're designed to be fully, truly unique and worth the grind. And before we wrap up, let's talk about the new Vault Hunter that was teased. Gearbox showed a silhouette of an upcoming character, and from the looks of it, it's got a Western vibe, but the devs also hinted saying this character has a lot up their sleeves. So now the community is split. Is it a cowboy Vault Hunter, a magician style character, maybe both? I'm personally leaning towards a magic based Vault Hunter, but I want to hear what you guys have to think. Drop your theories in the comments. Before I wrap up the video, I wanted to rapid fire some things that I personally didn't know where to put into the video. One of the nicer things that are coming to Borderlands 4 are once you beat the game and achieve Ultimate Vault Hunter mode, you can immediately create a new character that is automatically at level 30. So that's a nice quality of life improvement. To add on to that, there will be weekly missions dedicated towards boss fights. And not only that, they will give a higher chance of dropping the dedicated loot drops like legendaries for that week. But to reset and play that boss again, you'll need to use Moxie's Encore machine. And this time, it will cost you Iridium, specifically for the weekly bosses. And speaking of weekly, Maurice's Black Market machine will be returning to Borderlands 4, and will be in random locations every week. But the loot isn't going to be the same for everyone, which they state is to provoke socialization, and maybe we could possibly trade things for that loot. So yeah, Borderlands 4's endgame is shaping to be one of the biggest and most customizable that we've ever had. UVHM has 5 difficulty tiers, streamlined boss farming and encore, the crazy build potential of Firmware, the long-term grind of Specialization, in-bosses, pearlescent weapons, and even new Vault Hunters coming down the line. Let me know which features you're most hyped about, personally. I can't wait to mess around with the Firmware builds. It feels like a game changer for this series. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and trust me, we'll be having a ton more BL4 content dropping once the game launches September 12th. That's all for me today. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.